Hey everyone, the Talking Dads podcast is brought to you by Little Scholars Early Learning Center. Whether your family needs infant care, a preschool program, or before and after school care, Little Scholars' highly rated Step Up to Quality programs provide quality early childhood education at an affordable price. Visit www.littlescholars.net to get in contact with an enrollment specialist and schedule a tour of any of their 5 Lake County campuses. Here's the deal. Talking Dads fans are getting a little bonus. Mention that you heard about them through our podcast, and when you tour, and you'll receive $25 off of your registration fee. Again, that's Little Scholars Early Learning Center, where children learn, play, and grow together. We are also brought to you by FRATO GASTROPUB. FRATO was voted Best Gastropub in Cleveland in 2019 by Cleveland Magazine Silver Spoon Awards. We love FRATO. Their menu is chef-inspired, always pushing the limits of traditional pub fare. The other night I had a burger, I believe it was called the Pub Burger. It was incredible. Cooked perfectly. It was amazing. And you won't have a problem pairing your favorite item on the menu with their great selection of local craft beers, crafted cocktails, and of course, an amazing bourbon and whiskey selection. I went with the Bullet 10-year with my Pub Burger. All of this in a cozy, fun, come-as-you-are atmosphere. You can check them out at pubfrato.com and on Facebook and Instagram at pubfratogastropub.
We are also brought to you by Marky Fresh Barbershop in Mentor, Ohio.
Bro, I love Marky Fresh.
It's the best, isn't it?
Dude, I get cut there like every 3 weeks. My kid gets cut there every month
Every
and a
now
half
and then.
or so. Month and a half, 2 months, something like that. They do such a good job.
The environment is phenomenal. Everybody's awesome there.
Can I tell you a secret? I don't
Please.
even give a shit about the haircut. It is so much freaking fun going there.
Just to hang out.
Yeah. I have such
Just have a good time. Every time, man.
Yeah.
You get caught.
They
you
do.
want to be in there fast.
Oh, yeah.
Their whole app, everything,
Oh,
booking to get in.
so
It's so
easy.
convenient and easy, but you get caught up
Oh, yeah.
because you just want to hang out and talk with these guys.
You know what the word is? Shenanigans.
Shenanigans.
So many shenanigans.
You don't want to leave.
It's so much fun. But honestly, they do a fantastic job.
They really do.
I look way better when I leave than when I get
You
in there.
really do.
I know.
So, yeah, Marky Fresh.
Yeah, book at markyfresh.com.
Book, get in, stay fresh.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of The Talking Dads. This week's special guest is one of our oldest friends in the entire world. His name is Jagger Ticknor of Ticknor's Men's Clothing. So we actually did get into a little bit about his business and the things that they're doing to kind of redefine men's clothing. But more importantly, we definitely talked about being a divorced dad of an amazing 7-year-old. We got into a little bit of these crazy videos that he makes of just being really creative in the house, especially during COVID. We talked about, virtual learning and how that works and just overall, like, dealing with life's punches, and we're all doing that. So, really good time. It was so much fun to catch up with Jag. Take a listen, tell us what you think, and have a great weekend.
In a world where moms continue to dominate parenting authority and a father's role is minimized in society, 2 dads take on the toughest parenting topics on a weekly basis, all while drinking bourbon. They are the Talking Dads.
Jagger, what's up, man? It's good to see you. It's been way too long since I've seen your beautiful face.
That is true.
And it's been a while. Doing great, though.
That's good.
Yeah, can't complain.
Absolutely. Good.
So somehow we're on episode 76, and this is your first run at the Talking Dads. So for the millions and millions of fans out there, can you give us a dad profile and tell us who you are and what makes you a dad?
Well, I'm Jagger Ticknor. I've been doing the same job for about 15 years now, running a retail store.
Is that it?
Yeah.
What makes me a dad? Couple beers and a night inserting something in, and the baby came out, and I became a dad at that point.
Oh.
I'd say that the strongest part though is definitely just not putting too much pressure on and just loving every second of everything that could possibly happen and just dealing with the bad stuff as it comes up, but just trying to slow it down and enjoy every moment. So
Sure.
I love that. And I can see how much you love being a dad, man. I love watching the stuff with you and your son, like on your videos on Facebook and everything. Like the thing you posted today, it was awesome. I think that was awesome.
It's great, especially in this COVID shutdown. It's just, okay, we got a house, we got a couple toys, let's make a game, and there has been.
And that's the best. That's the best thing right there, man. Just make the best of it, like you said.
Yeah.
It's very cool. I mean, Jackson, so Jackson's my godson, which is pretty cool. That was a fun weekend, and it's just been really cool to see you kind of develop into a dad. And I got to kind of learn after you a little bit. Just you went through all that stuff before how old is Jackson now? Again, he's my godson. I should probably know this.
You should.
We haven't received a gift in like 6 years, so.
Did you guys move or something?
Not counting, but yeah.
Did you move or something? I keep sending stuff.
Lost in the mail, right?
Well, USPS is right now, man. It's a disaster. So.
Disaster.
I'm sure I'll get like 5 in the next couple of days.
Yeah,
for
sure.
Oh, yeah.
7.
Okay. I knew it was 7 or 8, but 7. Wow.
Crazy.
That's incredible.
Grade,
so is he I don't know what the situation is in North Carolina. Is he virtual learning? Is he in school?
So that's been the great part. So Jen is a teacher. So all teachers' kids could go to school.
Oh.
Even if it was virtual learning, it was in a classroom with the teacher next to them. So
wow,
that
that's
has been
nice.
a lifesaver. So it's they just got back to everybody else's in class. So
well, that's good. So
that's awesome.
So North Carolina is like on the downslope right now.
Apparently.
Right. Yeah, we are not.
No, we are not. We're in a bad place right now.
Yeah.
It's been a little bit better than I think what you guys have up there. So
the shit show, man.
We're starting virtual learning on Monday with Gibbs in kindergarten, and I'm he got sent home with literally, I'm looking at it right now, 4 folders that are like that, and this giant bag of activities and things like that. And I'm like, okay, yeah, right.
And by the way, at that age, it's super easy. Like, all of it, but to teach somebody that.
Yeah, we're not teachers.
We went through a week.
I mean, technically, I think I'm supposed to be.
Yeah, you should have a little bit more of a handle on it, but
the whole early childhood education thing.
Clock situation of how to read a clock. Well, I know how to read a clock.
Yeah.
But teach it to somebody else.
Yeah, right.
You find so many funny things in that. Like, it's 3, but if the big hand is pointing at 3, it's 15.
Yeah, you got that?
That doesn't make
figure this out. Why can you not figure this out? This is so simple.
Yeah,
that's a good point. Yeah, like I'm going to be learning on the fly coming up here, because it's been a while since I've had to actually teach anything, and even that was more of a fill time type of situation, to where now we're getting the lesson plans and the schedule, and in theory I just help him log on and teacher does the work. I just don't know how that's going to go.
I mean, Ian, did you look at, they sent you the calendar, right?
Yeah.
This is insane. I have it sitting here, and to try to put this together, they sent it to me in an email today. So I look at it, I'm like, are you kidding me? So I don't even know. And then Spanish, I mean, luckily it's all on the iPad, but they sent us home with iPads, which was nice.
Right.
I'll tell you what, they do catch on to it a lot quicker than you even do too. Like, it has not been that
good.
That's good.
That's reassuring.
it went pretty smooth. But
Sweet.
yeah, it's just some things like that. And then spelling. This sound isn't always spelled that way. Well, why?
Right. Yeah, I've been dealing with some of that with like his reading. Like at night we'll be, he's doing these sight words, and they teach kids how to read now by sight words. And so basically you memorize a set of words each week until you memorize enough words that you can put a sentence together. So I'm sitting there trying to tell him how to like sound a word out, and he's like, it's not registering. And I'm like, well, I don't know that word yet. I'm like, well, figure it out. Like, just it's
We're gonna be the epitome of every meme. For distant distant schooling, whatever the hell it's called. But yeah, I mean, for us to try to figure it out, it's tough, man. I've known for a while this was gonna happen. Like, we knew it was coming, and now that it's here, it's like, well, shit. I mean, Ben's been doing it for a few weeks now, but he's 3, so that's simple. But this is a whole nother story, man. I don't know. I feel bad. I'm not going to be home. It's not me. It's my mom, Liz's parents, and Liz's aunt that watch these guys.
It's going to be really bad for somebody. I mean,
for somebody. Not me.
I'm not going to be doing it.
I'm going to work.
I am.
I heard. Chelsea's like, I could just picture Ian screaming at Gibson.
I tell you what, the first thing I'm going to teach him is where the mute button is.
Oh yeah, Gibson's hilarious, man. We had so both of our kids are in basketball over at the Willoughby Y, and they're on 2 different teams. But tonight they were on, they played each other, and the coach is explaining to them what to do. And every now and then the coach will be like, "Okay, so what's defense?" And Gibson raises his hand for everything. I'm like, "Well, he knows his shit." And Chelsea's like, "No, he doesn't. He's just going to give her some bullshit answer, and it's not going to be right." It was hilarious. He raises his hand again, and she goes, "Okay, somebody else besides Gibson, please."
Oh, man.
I give him all the props, though, man. The kid he's all over. He's giving it a try.
Yeah.
So Jag, you you said retail store, but in reality, you are a core member of the Ticknor's team, given that that's your name.
Yes.
And so tell us a little bit about that and how. So a lot of times, what we like to do is kind of parallel what you do for a living and how that relates to being a dad. So like, for instance, I run schools and I'm managing people a lot, right? And so a lot of things that I do, I try and, I don't want to say dumb down, but go on a simple level and say, okay, if I was to tell one of my people that I need this to be accomplished, would I treat them the way I'm treating my son right now? And the answer is usually no, because I expect a lot out of him, but at the same time, I have to like explain what I want, what the expectation is, and then show them how to do it and then follow through with it. Right. And so like, I try and break it down like that a little bit. So you have the ever important job of making sure gentlemen look great when they go into work or to kill that interview or whatever it is that they're doing. I'd imagine that there's a lot of that would translate to fatherhood.
Yeah, I'd say it actually goes a little bit more the opposite way, where I actually talk to Jackson probably more like an adult instead of talking to adults like a kid. Now, sometimes that works great. Other times, I'm probably over-explaining too many adult-like things to him. And then after a while, I see his eyes roll back, and and I'm like, oh yeah, that might be taking it a little far. So I think talking to adults all day, it actually makes me talk to him like an adult more, and in some ways it's helped, but yeah, in others I gotta dumb it back down for him.
But, dial it back a little bit.
Yeah, I mean the biggest thing with work in relating to fatherhood is in retail, you know, the hours are just nonstop.
Right.
And so to try to not have that overcome fatherhood is sometimes tough, you know. So I basically broke it down where Mondays and Tuesdays, it's just all him. So it's just, if I have to leave work to go pick him up from school at 3, I do, you know. And so, yeah, there's been some moving things around to make sure that I'm not coming home at 9 o'clock every night, or
Right.
having to force him into that. But
Well, I think that's a good idea, though. I mean, I think I mean, we've talked about it quite a few times on the show. Is just scheduling and routines are so important, and whatever your situation is, right? Like, it doesn't matter what it is. You have to figure out what the routine is that works for you and your kid, right? Like, you have to figure it out and stick to it. Like, it's very easy, especially, you know, with a career, and like in your case, like having a very vested interest in the success of your business, like it would be very easy to say, well, hey, I got to do this tonight. I can't. But I think that it is important to come up with that routine or that schedule, and not only for you to understand it, but for him to understand it, because he's at that age where he's going to understand too, right? Like, he doesn't want, like, I think it's very important for kids to know, like, as chaotic as your schedule might be, you know, like Steve just said, it's either mom or, you know, his grandparents on one side or the other. Like, as long as they know ahead of time, like, that relieves so much anxiety, right? Like, especially today, everyone's got crazy schedules, but if you can simplify it and like make it be known, then they're just going to be better off for it. It can be something different every day, but if they know what it is, then at least you're setting them up to understand what's going on.
yeah, and making it not a big deal. Like, some days I've had to bring him to work. Now I'm lucky enough to have an environment that, you know, it's not a dangerous situation, or, you know, and the guys that work there, like, he comes in and they play with them and everything.
Sure.
And so, yeah, if you made it a bit like, oh, we have to go to work, you know, I'm sorry, but we just have to do this. They pick up on that, and then they
attitude
too. And I don't know. I happen to be pretty lucky too, though, that this kid he just goes with the flow, no matter what. That's
awesome.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, none of my doing. He's just like one of those freaks. is not bothered by anything. So
give yourself some credit.
yeah, it has to do with it. Come on, you're good.
I would imagine that like, you might, so you said something interesting, how you said like the opposite, where you talk to him like an adult. Does being the father of a 7-year-old help you with somebody like me who would come into your store and be like, I need a suit. Okay, what do you want? And then you can like break it down like you were talking to a 6 or 7-year-old.
100%. Yeah.
I know, I have no idea.
Parallel.
I mean, it wasn't too long ago. I was like, hey, Jag, I need a tux. You're like, okay, what are you looking for? I'm like, I need a tux.
You know, black.
Yeah.
And I mean, we need that though. That's 70% of our business. If everybody knew exactly what to get, what to do, you know, how to get it fit, what their size was, online would eat us alive, is all you would do.
That's true.
True story.
Yeah, that's sort of the fun part of it, is the developing that relationship and building it, and yeah, it's but yeah, so used to talking to adults all day, it definitely I talk to him way more as an adult than talking to them as a kid. But
that's good. I like that.
But yeah, it's every once in a while you got to talk to them like they're a 6-year-old.
Yeah, you got yeah, for sure. I have to turn it off at like, for my job, I deal with people who, a lot of them are either engineers or guys in the field that are dealing with the electrical equipment, like and a lot of the language is a lot of profanity. Okay. So there's a lot of swearing that goes on back and forth. And even in my office, we all talk like a bunch of truckers. So definitely when I come home, definitely got to turn that off and not talk like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do catch myself a lot of times talking to them like the same thing though. Like I'm dealing with people all day on the phone or at work, and it's the same thing. It's like, okay, I'm talking to them as like an adult. But you're right though, like dialing it back and talking to them like a child again. I also think talking to them like that helps them develop, just language in general and using the right things in context, and instead of talking to them like a baby or a child all the time.
Dude, 100%. Like that's 100% true. I mean, I know from some classes and some coursework that I've done, it's just like, listen, it's fun to talk to your kids like they're a baby, and like remember when they were so tiny, and it's fun and it's cute, but but you're not really doing them any favors, right? Like,
Yeah.
they pick up most of their language skills by reading and listening to adult conversation, right?
Which is also dangerous.
It can be, but like if you, yeah, no, 100% it can be. Yeah, it definitely can be. But if you're conscious of that and understand what's going on, then when you're having conversation, and again, it's more than just, words. So it's not necessarily the swear word that's going to get you in trouble, but it's how your tone is sometimes, or
yeah.
And look, I'm not saying that it's bad to express different tones, because there are times when you want to convey that you're frustrated. There are times that you want to convey that you're elated that they did something right, and like, so it's good to have those different tones so that they can understand that because that's part of our language. But yeah, it's interesting, the dynamic of going from work to home. Like, believe it or not, like even in my business, I also have to tone it down, because a lot of times, like especially when I'm working with, teachers and directors, we get in that safe space of like a conference room or something like that. And teachers that have had to use, terms like, all right, how are my friends doing? They've had to do that all day, and they get in there, and I encourage them to let loose and be an adult, because no one can be in that for 8, 9, 10 hours a day sometimes and not go insane. So,
Yeah,
so I also have to watch it sometimes.
for sure. That is the truth, man. And Jagger, with your business too, and what you guys do, have you guys been affected at all with the whole COVID thing? I mean, have you noticed a lot of difference? Yeah.
Yeah. It's well, we got March, April, May, we were shut down.
Yeah.
Then in clothing, June, July, August are your worst months, because you're wearing less of it. There's less.
Yeah.
It also stopped a lot of the wedding parties.
Yeah.
So, but and now this resurge and all that is, happening. So people are nervous, and what better place for crowds than a busy mall,
Exactly.
So, but the weather cools down. Like, it's not bad. Like, we're fine. We'll make it through. It's just, it's a lot more work to make it through. And, and that comes back into the dad thing, man, him being able to go to school and do this virtual learning, as opposed to I have to be off, in order to take this on. Because I tell you that, with everything going on, being a divorced parent is even there's no longer two of you that can have your days or your days. So right. It's like, if you can't do something with them that day, there is no backup. And so you really have to then start scheduling it around that.
And then divorced dad with your family still here. So it's not even like you have, your parents to rely on for help. Because I mean, I know that like I have my in-laws that are here. So if something was to happen and I need to get into work, I can call them and they're more than happy to help out. But like you don't have that. Oh, you got your brother maybe, I don't know, but he's in the same boat as you.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, can you watch him here? Because but yeah, yeah, her family's in Ohio too. So it's,
Yeah.
It's a lot of advanced planning and when things do come up, but again, that sometimes helps too. Like he was sick one day. Not really, feeling a little under the weather, and this was before COVID. I go, oh, okay. If you can't go to school, then you just got to go to work with me. Yeah. He hasn't been sick since.
He won't be playing.
Some of it is, you're not going to have a day off. Like,
Right.
This is what we got to do. So,
Yeah.
Who knows what's good or not. There's ups and downs.
I mean, we say all the time it's whatever works, right? Like there's no playbook that says this is exactly how you do it. And I think that if there's ever a year that we're really learning that, it's this year, right? Like everyone's had their own unique challenges, and then we've had these shared challenges that everyone's going through. And even though those challenges might be the same, everyone's situation is different. And so how we deal with those challenges, I mean, it's a perfect example of whatever works for your family works, right? Keep on doing it if it's working. If it's not working, adjust, pivot, whatever you want to say. But what's your choice? You got to figure it out.
Absolutely, man. And I think about it all the time too. Like I found out that we were doing the whole mobile distant learning thing, and I'm like, well, shit, I start panicking right away. And then I start thinking big picture, like, I'm not the only one going through this, man. Everybody's got to figure out what the hell they're going to do. And luckily for me, I'm very lucky that I have my parents, my in-laws, Liz's aunt. Like we have all these people that we can fall back on. So it works out. I'm not screwed by any means, but we figure it all out. It's what it is. Like Ian said, everybody's doing it right now, and this is the perfect year. What's wrong, Ian?
Nothing. I'm trying to mute my notifications, but I started to mute you, so sorry.
Oh, awesome. Thanks, man. Well,
yeah.
If it makes you feel better, I didn't hear your notifications.
Oh, really? Oh, even better.
No. Yeah, so we're good. So my story that I told is just gone anyway, so we're good.
No, it's good.
I was muted the whole time.
You weren't. No, it was like literally less than a second.
In all fairness, you've been muted on my end this entire time.
Thanks, man. Wait, what was that? Oh, shit. There it is. Wrong. Fuck you guys.
Oh, man.
I got to pour something else. I got to pour some more.
There you go.
I'm going to deal with these assholes all night.
No, I think that's a good point, though. I mean, everyone has a different situation. And like you said, you have some people that you can rely on, which is great. But with that now comes a more hectic scheduling, right? Like now you have to keep track of, all right, well, who's got this day, who's got that day, and make sure that schedule lines up, because I don't really have as much of that because my in-laws are there and they can help out if we needed them to. But my father-in-law just had a hip replacement, so he's not going to run around and take him, right? Yeah. So it's really just me for the next 2 weeks. And I'm going to figure it out, right?
Yeah, you will.
So one thing that I don't have to deal with, though, is all right, who's got him on Monday and Tuesday? Who's got him on Wednesday? It's just me, and I just got it. So it's simplified for me.
Well, here's what I'll say, too. And I have to give her credit. And also because she just texted me, because she could definitely hear me down the hall. And I was texted just now. Liz goes, I'm home with them teaching too. So, which is a good point. Liz is home a couple days a week. And to be completely honest and fair, and I'm not just saying this because she's down the hall, but she's the one that I go to work at 7 a.m. So she's the one that has to set up everything when she gets to whoever's babysitting's house and set up the whole plan and be like, this is what they're doing today. This is what you got to do.
Right.
So yes, I do have to give her the credit for doing all that shit. Because for me, I'm like, all right, well, I got to get up, get them breakfast, and then I'm out. I'm going to work. So
you got to know where to pick them up.
Stuff. I got to pick them up.
You got to know where to pick them up.
I got, and sometimes I might forget.
That's important.
I just text everybody. I have a group text.
That literally is a key part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to get back in studio, man.
We really do.
Um,
Because usually I don't have her eavesdropping on the conversation. I can say whatever
Right.
I want. Now I got to be careful, right?
I know. It is what it is, right?
Thanks,
yeah,
COVID.
COVID. Yeah, thanks, COVID. Thanks, DeWine. We have a curfew. Did you hear about that, Jag?
I did. Yeah. 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock.
Yeah, it makes
so,
complete sense. I mean, it's like, how much crazy shit goes on at 10 o'clock.
Well, COVID comes out after 10.
Well, yeah, and that's been proven.
So we're safe.
Yeah.
We're safe currently because we're inside our homes.
I'm
It's
inside.
like passing by your door. It's like hanging outside your windows. You're like, not here. Yeah.
Not today, COVID. I'm home.
Made it.
Woo. Thank
It's
God.
9:59. You're like, oh shit.
Street lights are coming on.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was thinking too, though, because I'm like, okay, what if I have to run out and do something? I'm like, well, Ian and I, we can't go to the studio because we got to be shut down, right? And then if we're out past 10 o'clock, we're gonna be like the only ones out on the road,
Right.
So I ran into a cop the other day, and I was like, hey, I got a question for you. Say I'm out past 10 o'clock driving. I'm like, will I be pulled over and ticketed for being out? She's like, no. She's like, it's not a big deal. I would probably not even pull you over. She's like, it's not an ordinance in Lake County. Now in Akron, I guess, if you'll get ticketed for being out past 10 o'clock.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But not here. Lake County's cool. We're good. So maybe we could go to the studio. I don't know if we have to be closed, though. Are we technically a business?
I mean, technically we are a business, but we can make arguments maybe. I know the first go around we fell under the essential businesses. Media falls under the essential business.
We're so essential.
Yeah, we're essential as
Talking
fuck.
dads are essential.
I don't know what I would be doing right now if it wasn't for you. So,
Well, it's understandable. You're
welcome.
Not alone in that. So Jag, I want to kind of get into. I know you started to do something. This is probably summertime that I was really interested in, and I know that you said that it was just a lot of work. And trust me, I get it. But you and Jackson were playing Super Smash Bros together, and it was awesome. Like, I don't remember, did you post that or did you just send me a link to it? I don't remember how I saw it, but you guys were playing and like the interaction was great. And I was like, dude, this is gold. What was it called, or are you even still doing it? I don't know.
Not really. He watching these YouTube videos. So, really, as a 5-year-old, 6-year-old, why don't we make our own videos, stuff like that. But he's not a big talker. He talks low, and he's, not the loudest kid in the room. So it's really hard to even pick him up. So it just turned into only me talking. And I'm like, all right, well, this isn't really, and it is, man, total respect to you guys. Even something as simple as a couple of videos and then editing it together was like, just hours and hours of work for a 2-minute video that no one sees.
Right.
Because I'm J&J Productions on YouTube, and so we basically did it for the fun of him. That's about as far as I took it. After making up a few of these games, though, and then recording some stuff there, I think, man, if I could get something together that's just home games, but under that same premise where he is just destroying me at it or something, I think that would be.
It would be super entertaining.
But
yeah,
it's I get him half the week. I'm at work every other hour. I don't have them, so I don't know how realistic it is, but it's been fun making the videos. Anyway,
yeah.
I don't plan on making business out of it, but it's been something.
No, well, you know what I think that we've found, like when we've made a couple silly videos that we involved our kids in, right? And I found that was like some real quality time that you spend with your kids. And not that we don't spend or at least for me, to speak for myself, not that I don't spend quality time with my kids not making videos or something like that, but like Gibson especially gets super excited. He's like, oh, we gonna make a video for Talking Dads? I'm like, yeah, sure, man, let's do it. And like, it might be a 4-hour process to get, like you said, a 2-minute video down, right? But it's fun and it's entertaining, and it can be frustrating. Especially like the director in me comes out sometimes, and I'm like, no, I need you to say it this way, and the lighting's all wrong, and then I have to remember that it's not about the polished product. It's about spending time with him and having fun.
Absolutely. And then also with that too, it's like people actually enjoy the more authentic part of it.
Yeah.
Like the part where we're trying to direct it and make them do what we want them to do. That sucks. But people really love is the natural, whatever the kids are doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's the best part of the whole thing. But like you said, like the director in you, you're like, I want it to be this way. Why aren't you doing this? Like even as simple as I brought the kids into the studio 2 weeks ago to help me set up. And those two were having a blast just messing with the equipment. And I found myself doing the same thing. I'm like, would you guys just say something? Like, and talking to the mic, do this. I'm like, whatever. But then I showed some people the video of them just laughing and doing whatever they wanted to do. And that was gold. That was like the best part.
It literally is.
And they had the best time doing it. And now Sam is asking me every day. He's like, hey, Dad, when we go to the studio again? He's like, can we do that again? I'm like, we do need to do that more often.
That is
absolutely
cool. When you get those moments that it's just like they're asking to do something that you've already did again, you're like, I did something right.
Yeah. Nailed it.
Like, wasn't sure this would be a hit, but I got you.
Well, because I mean, let's be honest about it. Like, there's a dozen other things that you've tried that they're like, Dad, really?
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. Can I watch YouTube now? And I'm like, no, you can't watch YouTube. Put it away.
Well, you just do what I'm doing. Damn it. Come on. Listen to me.
Why, by the way, like, why can't you watch YouTube? Like, why is that a bad thing? I have no idea why. I say it all the time.
I don't either. It's because that's what.
It's like, that's too much screen time, I guess.
That's because that's what.
Right.
Put that down. Do something else.
Stop messing with the screen.
Yeah, if you make the videos with them and stuff, like, yeah. And I'm at that point too. Like, who cares how good it is? Like, all they want to do is be a part of that. And it's been a lot of fun just making those little, there is no editing. It's just fine. We'll put the camera on for a minute and
right.
Just get those up. Yeah, man, that's what it's all about, really. And like big picture, it's like whatever makes them happy. That's what's awesome, and that's what they remember. Not us yelling at them to do something that we want them to do.
Dude, I used to make Gibbs was probably like 3, and Gibbs has always been a talker, right? He's always loved to be in front of a camera and get the attention. That's just who he's always been. I don't know why. That's just who he is, right? And,
personality.
But I know for the daycare, we used to do on Fridays, we would do Gibbs Got Jokes.
Yeah, love those.
Yeah,
so,
you gotta go back to that, man.
I know, we really should. So during the week, I mean, it got to the point where during the week we were practicing jokes. And I know, like, it was funny, not too long ago, actually, I started looking back at the old ones, and the very first ones were the best. Now, granted, he was younger, so it was a little bit cuter, but like the first ones where he completely botched the joke were the ones that killed. And the ones where he got it down after we had practiced 100 times, like they were like, okay, cool. Like everyone's heard that stupid joke. No one cares. But when he messed it up and it was authentic, like that's just us having a good time. Because I remember the reason we stopped is he would like not say his lines correctly. I'd be like, all right, Gibbs, I'm telling you right now, you're not going to get ice cream tonight if you don't get this line right. I was like a monster.
Asshole director came out and was like, if you're not going to do this right, we're done. We're cutting this. You're no longer in showbiz.
It became not fun. I'm not joking. Like, and I saw that and I was like, holy crap, am I literally yelling at my kid right now for not doing this joke about dinosaurs correctly?
But you know what, man? We all do it too. It's just that's the worst part. You don't even realize it, man. So
I
you
don't know.
guys
Maybe
both have Nintendo Switch, right? Is that what you play the yeah. So I've been putting it off. I'm like, I'm just gonna wait. I'm gonna wait until Black Friday and I'm gonna get it. It is not available anywhere. I'm trying to get it now.
Really?
Yeah, I tried it today. I was like, I'm just gonna buy it today, whatever. Sold out everywhere. No chance. I fucked up.
I got mine Black Friday last year.
So I bet you Black Friday and Cyber Monday.
When I went last year, so again, there was no COVID last year, but I remember, it was Thanksgiving Day and Walmart had like 4 of them. And so you had to get there at like, I want to say it was like 6 p.m. It was either 6 or 8 p.m. on Thanksgiving night. And Chelsea's like, just go. I'm like, okay. So I'm going, and it's freaking mayhem, and you stand in line, and it's like a lottery. It was like a lottery system where you just like, you get in line, you get a number, and then they pick 4 random numbers, and I happen to get one. And
Damn.
yeah, I got lucky.
Well, that was last year, right?
That was last year. I don't know what it's going to be like this
That was
year.
your lottery. That was your raffle.
Last year was my lottery
luck
year,
man. Jagger, Ian was winning everything. We did like 6 golf outings, and Ian was just killing it no matter what, man. He was winning every raffle. He's winning all the lotteries for all the bourbon. He's winning, and then the lottery for the Switch. I mean, that was your year, man.
Last year was my year, man. Dude, I won a TV, like a 55-inch Sony
nice TV, yeah.
4K TV. I won a fire pit, a tent.
The whole camping setup.
That whole camping setup, yeah, like
house,
Yeah.
Yeah.
The new house, car.
A couple cars.
You were like Rusty in Vegas Vacation, man.
Right. No, it was last year was a good year, man. Which makes 2020 even more disappointing, but because I did not do well, and I personally did not win any lotteries from a bourbon standpoint this year.
No, well, you did.
Now my wife, won one.
Yeah.
So that was good.
That was where you messed up, man. 2019, I just had a crappy year because I knew this was coming, and it wouldn't let me down too much. So
there you go.
There you go. I was right there with you, Jagger.
Too high. Yeah, you got to keep it low. Keep those standards
Perspective.
low.
Keep them low.
Perspective. I love it.
Oh man.
Oh man.
So yeah, dude. So go ahead. No.
I hate Zoom.
So do I so much. It's the worst.
We're so much more fluid when we're in studio, but that's okay because. Well, speaking of that, Jagger, when are you going to make a trip home? I mean,
that's
obviously not right now since Lake County's on fire, but okay, good enough.
That's the tough part in general is just, between work and trying to get vacations, and then when you have Jackson and when you don't, and it's such a headache right now that probably not for a while.
Yeah.
At least spring, but it's I don't recommend divorce to anyone thinking about it. I would put it on the downside list, but because it does, it affects all your planning throughout your year, everyday life. It's everything. So
well, that's tough too. I mean, I know that I don't know how much you want to get into it, but I know that we've had conversations before, and you I think instinctively, and tell me if I'm wrong. I'm not divorced. Knock on wood. I just knocked on wood for that, but no, seriously though, I think that Jagger, you've said to me before, like you do everything that you can to shield your kid from like the ugly side of it, right? Like, and there's good divorces, there's bad divorces, everyone falls somewhere in between, right? But at the end of the day, if you figure out what's going to be best for your family, and divorce is it, then that's fine. You probably just have to figure out how that affects you, and I would imagine it takes more of a toll on the individual than anything else.
Yeah, everybody loses.
Right.
There's no winner in it. Even if it's a good, like, I think most of the time it's been a pretty good relationship between the two of us, but it's just imagine that, okay, you're at work all the time and you see your kids in the morning and in the night, right? So it's not even an all day thing. There's a separation period in between. Then half of that is taken away. And I'm in the good situation. You know, I talk to some people that it's every other weekend or something, and I would just, I mean, end it right now, because I'm not sure how that works. But yeah, it's just that. So it creates these two different lives that you're just like, you're a dad half the week, and then it's all just wrong on the other half. Yeah. You know, and it's trying to balance that out and everything too, is you know, a tough part. I think we've done pretty well. And again, I got a kid that's just unaffected by everything seemingly, unless he's just like building it all up, holding it all in. I hope not. I hope it, but man, he is, I mean, from day one, you know, has just, like you said, he set up a schedule, he set up a thing, and they just kind of go with it. And as long as you don't talk bad about the other person in front of them, it does go pretty smooth for them. But as far as planning or trying to get away, or okay, do I want to take a vacation or go back to Ohio for one of my 2 weeks out of a year?
Yeah.
Fair.
And it's tough with that. And you know, and some of it too is, you know, I get them for spring break every other year.
Mm-hmm.
My year landed on this year.
So, naturally.
Yeah. We got to have a lovely vacation in the backyard for a week. And you know, it's just those things that, boy, with two parents and maybe some help from grandparents helps out a lot. But yeah, when you're down to one and then something like that happens, like it's hard not to take it as a huge blow. Like, sure. I'm not going to get another spring break for another 2 years, and this is what I have to deal with right now. But yeah, it is what it is.
I mean, good for you for keeping a positive attitude about it, right? Like, it is what it is, and like you said, like, what can you do, right? Like, we can't control this. I mean, if any of us could control this COVID thing or pandemic, whatever the hell you want to call it, we'd be very, very rich right now, because nobody wants to deal with this.
Yeah.
So, believe me, I miss hanging out and spending time. And the couple times I did visit, like, it was awesome to bring Jackson around your kids and, you know, have her.
Yeah, that was fun, man.
It's unfortunately that's on like the back burner of everything else going on. So
right.
Yeah, believe me, I'm dying for it too. But yeah, right now, I mean, all things considered, it's going pretty well. You just got to knock off something. Yeah,
sure.
Yeah. And to go back, Jagger, to what you said about, like, you know, he doesn't seem to be affected by the whole thing. Like, I come from a divorced family, and you know, I remember. I was so young to where I don't even remember my parents being together. So, and the schedule and everything, it worked for us. Like, I don't remember, it never affected me, is what I mean to say. Is it never really affected me, even till now, to today. I've never noticed anything that really affected me. It was just my normal. That was normal for me, and it was fine. I grew up fine. My parents both got along, and like you said, they never talked bad about each other. They were very cordial towards each other, and that's what we saw. And it never affected us. Like my whole outlook on the whole thing was amazing. My whole upbringing was phenomenal. My parents were both very involved, like you guys are, obviously. And I am confident that he'll be fine. And it's not something that he'll keep bottled up. Because, like, for me, it never did. It was nothing that, like, when I reached a certain point that I just blew up and I was like, oh, this was a nightmare. It was so terrible with being a divorce, a child of divorced parents. It never affected me. Now, you do hear the negative comments from people sometimes, like people be like, oh, I know so-and-so stuck together because it was for the kids. I'm like, well, you know what? That's actually a lot less healthy for the kids because they're going to sit there and see an unhealthy relationship between two parents. So I think that sometimes that works better. And for me, it worked out fine. For my family, it worked out just fine. We were perfect. And I wouldn't change it for the world. It was all okay. And so, like I said, you guys seem to be doing it the right way. You don't say anything negative, and you guys share the time, and you're working it out. So that's fantastic.
Well, I think it goes back to, kind of what we said from the beginning is whatever works, I mean, I think it's ridiculous to think that divorce is bad or not divorcing is bad or, whatever. It's going to be different for everybody and how we handle it. I mean, I'm here to tell you, we have tons of families in the centers, right? And I've seen families that are divorced that their kids are the most stable and like loved kids that we've seen. And I've seen parents that, are on again, off again, on again for years, right? And like, it's just, you can tell that affects those kids because it's, well, this week mommy's boyfriend's picking me up and this week's daddy's girlfriend's picking me up. And they sit there and this is back when you could come into the centers, right? And like, and it doesn't happen that often, but I've definitely seen it where, they're coming in and they're just bringing that negative energy and it's immediately taken out on the kid. And it's just like, that's just so sad to see. I think it's important to be on the same page. To be fair, whether you're together or not, to be on the same page with what you want to do for your child or children, right? Like, because that's kind of what matters, right? Like whether you made the decision.
Yeah, I would go back to what Steve was saying. Obviously he came out, and your brothers are awesome too. Like all three of you guys have been.
They're all amazing dads.
People and all awesome to hang out with, and obviously you got a great family going. So I wasn't. I guess that is the fear at first. Is always the, what have I done to this kid's life? Especially coming from parents who weren't divorced. It was like, I just messed it up. But I guess I was more just saying, thankfully it hasn't negative affected him. But also, it never makes it easier on you. Like, I know that if there's some people watching that are like, I don't really like him anymore or something, like it's not the easier option. It is the much harder option. So hats off to your parents then too, if they did it that well, because it is 20 times harder to do it separate than to do it together. And right for the kid.
And like from my perspective, I mean, I don't know that my perspective matters in this, but like, I remember growing up and my parents made a comment one time. I remember I was probably in high school and my parents had made a comment one time and she's like, wow, like none of your friends' parents are divorced. I'm like, yeah, no, like they're not. And I was like, wait a minute, Steve's parents are. I'm like, but like, that's like, and I remember like, I was young and I remember like analyzing that situation. I'm like, dude, Steve's dad's amazing. Steve's mom is amazing. Like I can go over both of their houses. They're incredible. They treat us all the same. And like all of the boys and then like your sisters and, like they're like, everyone was happy. And like, you could tell it wasn't fake either. You didn't feel that like awkwardness of when you go over there and it's just like, uh-oh, kids are getting
Yeah,
dropped
yeah.
off. You better be quiet, you know, like something like that. And like, kudos to them, because I really do think that, like, from my experience of divorced people, I guess, like, that's what I remember is the example that they set. And I think that's pretty cool. Because that was, 30 years ago. I don't know.
Long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true, man. I mean, it's like I said, like back then, you heard a lot of negatives about it. So
Sure.
I always felt self-conscious about it, maybe a little bit, because you would go to place like weddings, for example. You'd be like, oh man, it's so great that our parents, we were together for so long, and like we stuck together and did this and that. And I'm like, well, my parents didn't. So like, you kind of got that like negative feeling towards things a little bit, but it never really affected me because my parents were so awesome. None of them were absent parents. Like, they were always phenomenal. And that was just my life. That was how it went. And I was perfectly fine with it. Nothing really affected me. No one treated me differently. Like, our friends' parents or anything like that. Like I said, it was some comments from random people, like, that you would just hear from people, you know what I mean? Like, it kind of made you feel bad about things sometimes, but I think that was a long time ago, though. I think times have changed a little bit, and people, it's a little more accepting. Like, it's a little old, it's more old school way of thinking.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, again, at the end of the day, like, from your perspective, it's like not like you had a choice in the matter, right? Like, and you actually got to be brought up in a situation where you had, two loving parents that probably, or I shouldn't say probably, I should say there's potential that, like, you got more out of them individually than some kids get from both of their parents.
And I agree with that. So I think, like, those moments, like, I always talk about, like, vacations with my parents and stuff like that. Like, I remember it was almost more special doing things with them individually. Like, my dad, I always say, like, our little adventures we would do on the weekends, like the stuff that he would do with us. It was even more special, I think, because it was not all the time. So when it did happen, it meant a lot more, if that makes sense.
Well,
but yeah,
not to cut you off, but like, I believe that because, like, especially doing the podcast, like, we get to talk about like memories and stuff like that quite a bit. And I mean, you'll talk about like driving through, Euclid or driving through Collinwood with your dad and like eating a lunch in like a parking lot somewhere. Like, you remember those things that were, I mean, if you really put yourself in your dad's position, he's like, all right, I got my boys, like, we don't have anything to do. Let's go do something, right?
yeah.
And like, I never did any of that kind of stuff with my dad. Like, now, like, he did normal dad stuff with me, but we never like just went and took an adventure just because.
Yeah,
so I think that's cool.
And I took a lot from that too, because I take that, like, the days that Liz has things going on, like where she has to work on a weekend or something. So it's just me and the boys for the week, like for a Saturday. Like, I make it a point to go do something like that, like some type of adventure, if you will. And not to say that I don't do that with Liz either. Like, you know what I mean? Like, when it's just that one-on-one with us, we do awesome shit. Like, we do some cool stuff. And I think, I hope that sticks with them forever, like it did with me and my dad, or my brothers and my dad. Yeah. So sorry, Jagger. I feel like we're just making this the Ian and Steve show all of a sudden.
Yeah, it's been so long. Just listening to you guys talk for sure. But no, and that's a lot of cool perspective of, seeing it down the line. And yeah, because, I think everybody, your natural effect is to worry. No matter what you're doing. The screen time, you worry. Anything comes up, you worry about it. And so, yeah, just having that reassurance, like, it's not the end of the world. It's just one more thing you got to get past and schedule and make it a routine. And I think it's the same thing that happened with you, Steve. He was so young. It's not like it was different and then he's 13 and then all of a sudden the world changes. You know, my heart goes out to those people because that's got to be.
I mean, can you even imagine, like you're so used to your parents living in the same house together, and it's like that's your norm. So luckily for myself and for Jackson too, like, you know, that's the norm now, because like they don't remember. You're not going to remember before that. So like for a teenager, like you hear the stories of that kind of stuff. Like these kids have to go through all sorts of counseling and stuff, like, because that's a huge change. Like that's enormous for a child. Like all of a sudden, like dad doesn't live here anymore.
Right.
I mean,
Or
that's gonna be so tough.
For 11 years, and now, every other week you got to go live in this little apartment or something. And another, I mean, that's tough. I went to a divorce meeting one time.
Wait, hold on. Explain this divorce meeting?
Yes, I want to hear this.
Yeah, you go through everything, all the range of emotions when this is happening and the like. So there's this at our church, there's this divorce group that, can help you through a divorce and everything. I said, why not?
Sure. Yeah.
Showed up one time, never came back. It just is some of the saddest stories over and over and over. And you're just like, I mean, it really made me think like, wow, this isn't that bad. I'm doing pretty good. Like so it was good to go and see that, but man, yeah, some of these, like, married 20 years and then just up and nowhere the guy leaves and is starting a relationship with somebody else. And I mean, I'm not complaining too much.
Yeah.
It's been pretty good. And I think you're right. It's made those days that I get them Sunday through Wednesday, and it's made those days like, super special. And it is, there's some Mondays that there's nothing to do and you feel like you're failing them a little bit because, like, okay, I don't have 7 days a week. So if we have one day of they're like bored or something, you're just like, oh man, I'm blowing this. But then you have those moments like that video the other day, and it's, and you just try to get more and more of those. And
yeah.
Well, here, I'm gonna make you feel better because I get my kids, all the time, and they're bored every single night.
Right? Yeah, that's just what kids do. I know, but it's hard not to make it bigger than it is because
and I think that is, as like a dad or a parent, is just like, you feel like you said, you feel like sometimes in those moments you're like, man, I'm failing. I should have a plan. I should be doing something. We should have something exciting to do. But then in reality, what it is that just that time spent is the most important thing, really.
Right.
But like you said, like as a dad, it's like, man, I feel like I'm messing something up here, but you're not,
I think that's so natural.
Yeah. I think we do it too. In those days where like you're just sitting around, like even some days you're like, man, it's Sunday, it's shitty outside and there's nowhere to go, especially during the whole COVID time. It's like, there's nowhere to go. And like you're like, we'll just sit around and watch movies and hang out all day. But like halfway through the day, you're like, we need to do something.
Right. You are doing something. Yeah.
Exactly. You're already doing something.
Yeah. The cool part about my job is it's pretty much all guys. And it's a lot of 19 to 25-year-olds and stuff coming through. And, everybody has a different situation. You get to talk to them and learn all the different situations people go through. And as I was starting this off and the divorce was happening and we were splitting up, I was, asking them just how they grew up or just, anything you'd like to share. and stuff, and ran into a couple guys from divorce, and and one of them said Disneyland dad. There was every time the dad had them, it needed to be something huge and great, and because like I just wanted to sit on the couch with them and watch TV or play video, and it's he might be playing a video game and you're sitting right next to him, but that's doing something still.
You're there. It's being there in the moment. It's being present, and that's what means the most, really.
That's such a good point. I mean, I catch myself quite a bit, actually. So Gibbs will be playing his video games, and typically, like, it'll be like after dinner, and so I'll be like, all right, yeah, go play your games so that I can do the dishes or whatever. And like he'll come running with his Switch and be like, Dad, look at this goal that I scored. He's playing like a soccer game or something like that. And I'm like, oh yeah, cool, dude. Like, let me just finish up these dishes. And then I caught myself the other night. I stopped. I turned the water off. I was like, Gibbs, come here. Let me watch you play for 5 minutes, And I think it was like 3 minutes and the game was over. And he was like, Dad, wasn't that awesome? I'm like, you know what, dude? It was awesome. Like,
that's a great point, man. I catch myself all the time. It's like you put on a movie or something, like on a Tuesday night, and you're trying to get them to just wind down, and you want to get some stuff done. Like Tuesday night or Wednesday, Liz is working late, so it's just me and the boys. And Sam just wants me to be in there with him to relax, like to lay down with him and just chill for a little bit. And I'm like, just let me clean. Let me do what I have to do. And I catch myself every now and then. I'm like, just give him a half hour. You could clean later. Who gives a shit? Like, you don't think about it all the time, man. It sucks. Like you get so frustrated with them. Like, just leave me alone. Go do something. Go play. Leave me alone so I can get this done. But in reality, man, like you said, it was 3 minutes of just watching him play that game.
Well,
and that's all.
And like,
that's all.
Like
we've said
this. We've said this a couple times about like, screen time. Like, what's too much? And I think my takeaway from screen time is, if you're going to use screen time as a way to not parent, then that's kind of shitty. But there's things that you can do with your kid that involves a screen, whatever, it doesn't matter. Like, if you're still spending that quality time, like if I'm sitting there watching him play the same game over and over again, because that's what 5-year-olds do, like, hell, that's what I do,
Yeah.
I mean, like, that's not that bad if you really think about it. Like, what are you doing? You're spending time with something that's exciting him. If you show some interest, now you're bonding over something, versus get away from me, you got your screen. Like, all right, yeah, maybe that's a little shitty. Like,
yeah, and it's that, like, I need this time to myself, but like you being there with them just to have their screen time or play their game or what have you, it's like that means more to them than the screen time. It's just you being next to them.
Right.
Have you ever played Among Us?
What is it?
Among Us?
No.
Oh, that's a great one. It's so you can play like on your phone or a tablet or anything like that. It's a free download. And then there's a code, so you guys can actually enter the same online game and play. Me and Jackson do that all the time. So it's like we're both playing a video game online, but with like other people out there in the game and stuff. And it's a super simple game that, each game might take 5 minutes. So you could just play 1 or 2 here and there. Like, so even doing, like, I have to be a mom as well, which is the hardest job.
Yeah.
It really is, because as we talk about, like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to be cleaning, but then the kid's like asking me to play. And I'm like, yeah, I have to also do that cleaning part of it.
Yeah.
And to try not to make it just, okay, it's all fun. Like, we still have to not eat popsicles for dinner every single night.
Yeah.
But so even at the grocery store and stuff, or cleaning up, like he'll have a tablet or like one of my old phones or something. I have mine, and we'll just be playing that video game like while doing some of that other stuff. Like, it's not all that interactive. So as you're doing chores or errands and stuff like that, it's a pretty easy thing to do. And we've gotten into it so much, I actually set up the entire house as a live Among Us game. When my parents come now, we're going to play a full live version of it.
All right.
So look out for that video.
That.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, it's funny that you said that. So, like, as you're explaining Among Us, I just downloaded it. So I'm going to have to check this out.
Yeah.
It's funny, like, people will mention things on this show with us sometimes and be like, hey, you should try this. It's like, okay, I got to write this down and remember to try it because that's something I didn't know about. Like, last week, Ian and I had these guys on for Penelope Bourbon, and the one guy mentioned something on the iPhone that you could do.
Oh, yeah.
I forget what it was called, but I figured out what it was. I have it on my phone now. I just can't remember what it's called, but it was something that, like, an option on the phone that I had no idea even existed. Ian's like, okay, write that down because we didn't know about it, man. It's cool, like, to learn these things from other dads. They're what they do that we don't know, we never heard of, and we could use it. It's another tool. So I'm gonna try this Among Us thing, man. I'm gonna have to see what this is all about.
Yeah, do that. You won't even have to buy the Switch. I'll sell you mine because Jackson doesn't even play the Switch anymore. It's all about that game now. So yeah.
Hey, it's what works.
Yeah, it's what works, and we're blessed that if there's a good thing that being in 2020, it's that we do live in an age where there's all these kind of tools out there that, like, our parents never had, right? Like, I mean, my dad used to, we had video games, but it was very much like a process. It wasn't like just grab something and play for 2 minutes. Like, it was like I don't know. I tried to explain this to Gibbs one time. Like, he'll play like the old school games on the Switch, and there's just save point. Like, you could just pause it and save it. Like, and that wasn't a thing for us, right?
That wasn't an option, man. You turn the game off, you're screwed. You start from square one, man. It's over.
And he's like, well, what do you mean?
Fire up my Nintendo. You gotta.
Yeah.
Yeah. Flip it in there.
So yeah. Yeah, it's
so true, man.
A lot of fun.
That's good, man. What's going on with Ticknors right now? I know you said that, like, you're coming out of the summer months where it's really tough. What's going on in the future? Like, what are you guys doing?
Still planning on. I mean, the whole structure is to open more stores. The biggest.
How many do you guys have right now?
9.
Okay.
So the biggest run-in with that is just employees, people who work these stores. So COVID, while it shut us down for 2 months and it took business down by 50%, the biggest thing that it did, though, was it took away, at least one person out of every store. As business went down 50%, then somebody leaves because they're not making enough. And that's the hardest thing to expand forward. Sure. So we're still in business. We were built to take a hit and still move forward. But the biggest thing is just getting back these guys to then reopen stores. Because right now, I mean, malls are giving stuff away. Right. If you want to talk about one of the upsides, I mean, now is the perfect time to open a store because just to get someone paying rent in there, they'll take a big discount on it. So, the plan is to still move forward. We're looking at Pittsburgh as the next move. But you got to come up with some people to work there. So
I mean,
my biggest job right now, it's not sales at all. It's training and hiring and keeping these people, and showing them a path forward. And so
I don't think that that's a unique problem across industries. I know that, we got shut down for 2 months as well. And we the hardest part coming out of everything was, okay, well, now we need extra people because now we're not letting parents inside of our buildings, right? So now we have to have extra people to run kids from the door or the lobby to their classrooms. And I was like, well, we were running like skeleton crew before this, and now
Yeah.
it's
not just
tough,
find
man.
people. You could go find people anywhere.
Sure.
This is your business.
Yeah.
The first person they see walking through the door is, I mean, you ran into that incident where, okay, you know, they made a video of
Yep.
or something. Yeah, all it takes is one of those.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You could be paying these
It
people
can cripple
$20
you.
an hour, but they're
Doesn't
still
matter.
they don't treat it like you need it to be treated. And all it takes is one parent dropping their kid off and, you know, they grab them by the arm too hard or something. Like, I do not.
Man. It is
I just
miserable.
their sleeves a little short, you know.
Yeah.
Parent defending their child. That's big.
It's
time.
insane, man.
It's funny, man. Like, I don't envy anybody in that industry, or a teacher, man. Like, it's so crazy. Like, my son is in Sloan's gymnastics class, and the teacher's like, "Hey, I just wanted to let you know, I hope me pushing Ben over the wall and making him do this, and I hope that was okay." And I'm like, "Listen, I appreciate you asking, but don't worry about it." I'm like, "If you have to be forceful with him, do it. If you have to yell at him, do it." I'm like, "I'm old school. Do what you have to do. I'm not going to be the one that's going to flip out and be like, how dare you touch my child like that?"
Right.
Because in reality, my kids need to be taught like that. They need that. They need to be forced into things. They need to be taught the right way. But I can't imagine being someone like Ian, like in your industry, like someone, like a parent, like Jagger said, like grabbing them the wrong way and being like, "Oh my gosh, this is terrible. How dare them? You know, I'm going to sue them for this." Like, I can't imagine having to be in that industry or being a teacher or any type of coach. They have to tread so lightly.
The hardest, and you do have to tread very lightly, and there's this fine line between teaching and let's be honest, like I hate this term, but babysitting, right? Like what a big part of our job is to make sure that your children are safe every day, right?
For sure.
And I've had situations before where, you know, a teacher removes a child from a situation that is unsafe, right?
Mm-hmm.
And parents will come home or come back to the center and they'll be like, "Well, you know, Timmy said that you grabbed him and pulled him away." And then to try and explain the situation from our perspective, like, yes, there was a cup of milk that spilled and they were running in the hallway and we did not want them to fall. And so she grabbed.
We were actually trying to help them.
Like, there's these things, and it's very difficult. I mean, I've had several conversations with parents and like they're, you know, on top of all that, it's cancel culture, right? And so I don't know how many conversations that I've had with parents that are like, "Well, I want this person fired right now."
Oh my
and
God.
I can honestly say that I've never done it. I've had meetings and I've had meetings that ended up in the termination of an employee, but I refuse to, like, on the spot based on a parent saying something, because my staff is what allows our organization to thrive. Like, I don't hire them if I think that they're, you know, not of utmost integrity in the first place. And then we have like this crazy training process and the culture that we put in place, but we're all human too, right? Like, you have to make a decision, and unfortunately a lot of people don't see it that way, and it's really, really tough.
I can't imagine, man. Like, even so, Liz's aunt watches Ben once a week, and even she said it. She used to be a teacher. Like, she's retired now, but she's like, I hope it's okay. But she's like, I had to, like, the teacher came out at me. I had to yell at him and do it and tell him to do this and that. And I'm like, please do that. That's fine. I'm okay with it. I don't mind. I'm like, I need you to be forceful with my kids, because I don't want them to grow up and be like, we need to sue this person for treating me this way. Like, that's just not me. I mean, I'm not trying to be the get off my lawn guy and say like I'm all old school, but in reality, we can't baby them like that. Like it's not how it should be. And like I said, man, I can't imagine being in that situation. Like you put your kids in a situation where like, okay, I'm handing them over to the teachers. You trust them to do the best they can. But I mean, I'm all about it. I want them to teach them. I want them to be forceful with them. And that goes with coaches too, man. Can you imagine being a coach right now? Remember like when we played sports and what we did like when we were little? I remember like high school coaches swearing at us and treating us like shit, really. But I mean, that's good though. That was a good lesson for us. That helps you in life. But now it's like you can't, like, you have to tread so lightly. You have to be so careful how you talk to these kids. Or it's like the parents are so sensitive about everything. And I'm not trying to, like I said, I'm not trying to sound like an asshole.
Yeah.
But
No, I mean, to be fair, go ahead, Jag.
You can't chop the legs out from any authority figure. Is the big
right.
You can't say all cops are bad. They're all, because then they're going to go out there. You can't say all teachers are bad and how dare they do this. And yeah, you have
what does it teach them?
Authority figures through your child. Otherwise, they never will. And then what?
They're never going to be able to survive.
Right.
Can you like eventually you got to grow up. You're going to go to work and you're going to have a manager that tells you what to do. What are you going to fight them? Like, you do what you're told, and that's life.
Right.
So I think that meme culture is something that I love because I think there's a lot of validity to it, and there's also a lot of BS. But there's a lot of times that I find stuff that's just so accurate. And there's a meme out there. It's like parenting in the '80s, and it's like a mom and a kid at the principal's desk. And in the
Thank
80s,
you. I was going to say that one. I was going to bring that up.
It's the mom yelling at the kid, like, what did you do? How did you need to fix this? And then it's parenting in the, I think it was like the 2010s or whatever. And it was the same mom yelling at the teacher or the principal, like, what did you do to my kid? Yeah, right. And again, like you said, Steve, like, what is that? Or both of you guys said it actually, like, what is that teaching your child? Like, they're now going to grow up. And I mean, you want to talk about like Karens or whatever, like that's exactly who those people are becoming or what they went through when they were kids is nothing can possibly be my fault. Like, you need to fix this for me. And that's just not the way the world works.
No. And I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, but like Jagger said with like the police, like you vilified, rabbit, there we go. Vilify the police. Like, like if there's one thing I learned growing up was like, if a police officer tells you to do something, you do it. Like, arguing with them about something is not going to help your cause at all. Just do it and listen. And that goes for any type of management position or anything. Like, if they tell you to do it, authority figure, anything, just you do what they tell you to do. That's life. That sucks, but fighting it and trying to get out of it is not going to help your cause. You're going to get fired. You're going to get in more trouble if it has to do with the police. Like, that's not going to help you. Like, that's not teaching your kids the right lesson. Like, so accept what you did wrong. What's that?
Believe me, it doesn't help to fight.
I was waiting for that. But I mean, no, honestly, Jagger, that is a good kind of concept that, you don't necessarily want to have to teach your children, but like from a first person perspective, but you can, it's just, there are lessons to be learned, right? Like, you can be an asshole if you want, but it's not going to get you anywhere.
No.
That's a good question, though. I do bring up, I wanted to ask you guys too, not necessarily now, but as your sons get older, and I specifically say sons just because I have a son, I don't have a daughter or anything, but are you going to tell them about some of the mistakes that you made?
So that's a great question, because I didn't learn about like a lot of stuff that my dad did wrong or my mom did wrong until I was probably in my 20s. When they finally realized that like this could come out now. I could tell them of the trouble that I got into. Like my dad told me a story one time about like my uncle getting like arrested or something, or like a DUI or something like that, and getting in trouble drinking and something like, this whole story. And him telling me that story, I'm like, holy shit. Like I would never have thought that. Like I would never, like the way I saw them was like, they were perfect. Like nothing ever went wrong. Like, you know what I mean?
My thought process is, like I always viewed my parents as these really perfect people.
Yes.
And I mean, all the way, like you said, until I was in my 20s, and they're still probably better than me, but
Maybe.
some of these things started to come out, and I started thinking about it. Like I wouldn't necessarily bring up my mistakes from my mid-20s to him when he's in middle school. But do you bring up the mistakes from middle school when he's in middle school? Like, I don't.
That's a really good question.
That's really. I feel like that's a
having
great.
That high standard, I think, made you strive to that a little bit more. But another way of thinking, like, it also made me feel kind of bad. Like I have these perfect people, and I was really sort of messing this stuff up. And
well, I was just gonna say, like we like, because I did the same thing. I grew up with these parents that I thought were saints, right? Like my dad's a cop and my mom's a business owner, and like they were like these perfect people, right? And like I remember a big motivator for me was disappointing my parents, even though like during high school and things like that, like I hated them, right? Like I really did. They know it. You guys probably know it. Like I was grounded all the time for the stupidest things. And it just was what it was. But like, I don't know if like, especially my dad, if he would have opened up to me then about some of the things that he did as a kid, or like when I was that age, when he was that age, I don't know if it would have taken away some of that fear of disappointment, because they're more human then. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I really don't know how to answer that question.
That's a good point. Does it, like, when you reveal that kind of stuff, does that make them feel like, okay, well then I could get away with it then?
He turned out okay.
Yeah. So maybe waiting a little while till they get past that point and then kind of reveal what you did wrong. I think admitting things like, hey, I know you're going through this right now. Like, say, for example, my niece saying like she was struggling with something in school. And I just told her, I'm like, hey, listen, you know what? I had a tough time with that. That was a situation for me when I was younger. And I explained to her what I did and, kind of gave her an idea of what it was like. I think something simple like that. But as far as going to, hey, I was getting wasted in high school or junior high and get in trouble all the time, maybe those stories might have to wait a little while.
Yeah.
Well, because it's something I think about, especially when we do the podcast. Like I remember, we all did this, I think, or at least I did this, is, you come home at whatever curfew is, midnight, 1 o'clock, whatever it was. I think for me it was 10 p.m. In high school, and you spray the cologne on, and you're chewing like 17 pieces of gum, and you got like Banaka, and you're like, they'll never know that I was smoking cigs.
But they know. Yeah, you reek, man.
Right. Like they knew, right? They knew. And they, like, looking back on that though, is that they made that choice that, okay, they made it home around the time that they were supposed to be home. I generally, or at least think that I knew where they were. They didn't come home in a cop car or a body bag. Like, is this something that I need to bring up? And I think that's going to be a very difficult decision to make, is how far do you want to push your kids? Because you also hear those stories of the kids that like were terrified to do anything, and then they go off to college or whatever,
and they just go crazy,
and they just unbottle everything, and whatever. So I don't know. I think that there's
Yeah.
got to
I
be
don't
a
know
healthy
that.
medium somewhere.
Hey, I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know.
Yeah, I think he answered it. A little bit of both. Find a speckling of both ways. To not reveal too much, but
Just a little bit.
I'm getting ahead of myself though too. I'm dealing with 7 right now. It was just more of a hypothetical.
Well, that's
You know
good
what the
though.
thing
I
is,
think
though,
that
like,
that's what we do.
Yeah.
we think about, we go so far ahead, and you start thinking about, oh man, how are we going to do this when they're teenagers or in college and all that stuff? And like, yeah, they're 4 and 5 and 7. It's like, let's just try to live in the now and try to figure out what we're doing now, because we're still figuring that whole thing out.
Well, isn't parenting so weird though? I mean, like you find out that you're going to have a kid, and I don't know if you guys are like me, but like I remember when I found out that I was having my first kid, it was like, holy shit, how the hell am I ever going to pay for college? Like I remember that was my first thought. Like I remember looking up, and this was what 2000. When was my kid born? 2015.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jeez.
Sure.
But I remember looking up like, all right, how much is college going to cost in 2000, 29 or 15, 37?
700,000.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, what the hell do I do? And like, I just remember like cracking a beer and just being silent and being like, how is this even a thing? How can I possibly provide for my kids?
Ian, I'm right there with you, man. As soon as Liz told me she was pregnant the first time, I instantly went to, how the hell are we going to afford this?
Right.
How the hell are we going to get through all this, and then college and this and the food and whatever? And I told you the story before, Ian, was like when we found out about Ben's heart problem, we knew that he was going to have heart surgery as soon as he was born. I'm like, and the worst comment I ever made to Liz in that situation was, how are we going to pay for this? Like, asshole comment, but like that's the first thing that ran through my mind.
I get it.
That's a dad.
I get it.
That's why the pairing is so good. That is a concern.
Yeah,
it absolutely is.
It doesn't make you less. It doesn't make you think of your kid's life less than money or anything. It's just that's also a thing involving in it. And yeah, I can't imagine so going through something like that. So I mean, it was
crazy, man. But like and then like once you realize, hey, big picture, we got to make sure he survives and we get through this and we'll figure it out. And the same thing goes for college. And when we get to that point, when we get to that bridge, we'll cross it, and you'll figure it out. And I think it's natural for everybody to think like that. Be like, what the hell are we going to do? How the hell are we going to save for this? How are we going to afford all this? And I mean, it's just natural.
To me,
my first thought wasn't college. We just have to like get them through elementary school, and that's like,
yeah, please.
Yeah, can you imagine all the money we're gonna save with this kid?
Yeah.
No, I mean, Jagger, that's funny, but I mean, to be fair, like what really calmed me down, and I was like, wait a minute, my parents didn't pay a dime for any of my school.
No.
Like, I did okay, right?
Yeah,
like, I figured it out. Like, I had to do the military route, and then I took out loans just like everyone else.
As I say, we didn't have like a 529. We didn't have all that backing us up.
Like,
you figured it out.
Well, and I think the other thing is like you that initial thing is, yes, we worry about the financials and how is our house big enough to take care of this family, and how is my car safe enough? Is my wife's car safe enough? Like all of those like instinctual primal father things that we worry about. And then that kid gets there and you're so overwhelmed with everything else that stuff just kind of like doesn't become as big of a worry, right? Like it's still there and you still think about things, but now like you just get into a routine and you learn things and then you dump them because now they're 3 months older and now you're worrying about a different set of problems. And so then you figure those out. And by the time you figure those out, you got to dump those and figure out the new set of problems, right? And so we do those kind of things. And I think that's just kind of what parenting is you take it at in the beginning, it's a 1 week at a time. And then like now with 5 and 3-year-old, I feel like it's a couple months at a time that there's different issues that I got to worry about. And like, you still have to have the long-term stuff in the back of your head, but
I think it's good to plan ahead, obviously, and try to figure out what you're going to do. I think like now we're at the point, like Chelsea and I were talking tonight at basketball. I'm like, this is tough getting here at 5:30 after work, rushing out and getting them to their activity. I'm like, Chelsea, think about when they're older and they're doing more activities and the running around we're going to have to do. Like, and this is one day a week. Basketball's one day a week. We have to worry about it. Like, think about like when it's a sport. Say they do a sport or being in, like plays,
a band or
band or anything. It's like you're going to be flying around at the seat of your pants at all times, man. It's like it's just going to be chaos, and you start thinking about that kind of stuff. It's like, man. But you know what? Our parents did it, and they figured it out, and we will do the same.
Well, I think that's the point, is like we figure it out, right? Like there's a new set of challenges that you take on, and that's just kind of what we do, is we figure it out. And do you make the best decisions? I don't know. Like I feel like I revisit things all the time, but you know what? The next time they're in that activity, or whether it's the next week or if it's a year later, it's like, oh, I remember this. Like,
yeah,
this is what
I mean. Think about like at the beginning of the whole like lockdown. Originally, like, I was flipping out. Like, Ian, can I get the kids into daycare? Can I, like, what am I going to do with my kids? I have no plan. I have nothing. What the hell am I going to do? But we figured it out, and it worked out, and everything was fine.
Right.
It's just scary at the beginning when it all hits you at first, it's fucking terrifying. You don't know what the hell you're going to do, but we figure it out, and it works out.
Well, I think that's what's cool about like talking about it sometimes, is because it can be a very lonely thing sometimes when you're like, oh my God, I got to figure this out for my kid. And if you let it, it can be an island, right? Like you're the only one dealing with this problem. And that's why I love doing the show, is we talk to other guys and we're like, oh, all right, we're not the only ones. It's
exactly. I think like, and we've talked about this before too. Is like, I don't know if it's a man thing or just a human instinct that we're like, how the hell am I going to do this? But talking it out and having like the perspective from somebody else and having them bring you back down to earth really helps, man. And I think, like Ian said, like with this podcast, it really helps my sanity sometimes. It's therapy to realize like, hey, we're all going through the same shit. We'll just figure it out and we'll be fine.
Steve, you brought up plays. I just want to give a shout out to Jagger and myself for Father Knows Best, circa 2002, 2001, 2003.
Before that.
Huh?
Yeah. Before that.
It was before that? Was it?
Yeah.
Was it at Ridge?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so circa 99.
Jesus, man.
I don't
ever made.
I was like the C-roll cop, man. Like I didn't have a big I wasn't the star like you.
Yeah, Jagger was the star, man. And like I think Jagger needs to be so I think Gibson is gonna be good with that.
Dude,
kind of stuff.
I want to get him into, so the Fine Arts Association around here has a program for like his age group. And I missed the winter session, but I want to get him into like acting. And not like I'm going to put him on like the Disney Channel or ruin his life like Macaulay Culkin or something like that. But like,
or all the childhood stars.
He really does enjoy like learning lines and doing stuff. You know, I say that after I told the story about me yelling at him for not getting his lines right, but no, he likes to do stuff like that, and I think that would be a kind of a fun activity for him. We talked to who was it that we talked to about that, Steve?
Oh shit, God, man, I don't even remember.
Yeah, I don't remember.
But I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Jag, you ever think about doing something? Because you genuinely enjoyed that stuff, right? Like, I know I had a blast when I finally did that production.
Yeah.
It was fun.
It was, something about being on stage and looking out and there's 2,000 people watching you was, always fun. I don't think he has any interest in that. He's not, even through these videos and the like, he gets a little camera shy and everything.
That's how my son's the same way. Sam is the same way, man. He's very, like, at home, he's very outgoing and crazy, but when it comes to being in public, it's a different story. But now, that doesn't mean, so, like, do you think you were like that as a kid? Like, were you always? Yeah, okay.
From the start.
Yeah, like
annoyingly so. Like,
okay, all right.
Just, I mean,
So, like,
almost want to act out if there was a crowd. Would be super quiet. Because I'm actually a pretty introvert type of a person. Like, I could come home and sit by myself every single night and be fine. But as soon as there's, like, an audience, it's like, okay, time to shine.
So, like, I was always, like, I wanted to be the entertainment. I wanted to be, like, the center of things when it came to hanging out with friends and things like that. But I don't think I could do what you did as far as plays go and being, like, on stage in front of all those people. Like, I don't know if I could do that. Like, but, like, when it came to being around a group of people that I was comfortable with, I was, out with all the jokes and trying to be, like, the center of attention. But
you could do it.
I don't know if I could do the stage thing.
You could do it. For sure. I mean, look, you're on a stage now with millions and millions of people.
Yeah, just a few. Yeah, what do you guys got? Like 2 viewers on this thing, or?
Yeah, at least. Sometimes 3.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. Steve,
It's us
Tyler
3.
Whitten. It was Tyler Whitten that we were talking about.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I'm excited. I'm hoping to get him in. Well, assuming COVID allows, like, such things.
One day.
I'm excited to get him into something different. Like, he's enjoying all, like, the quote unquote normal 5-year-old boy stuff, the basketball and, stuff like that. But I'm excited to get him into something a little bit different that I think that he would enjoy. And if he doesn't enjoy it, then, we give it a shot and that's it. But
Right.
I think it's important to kind of expose him to something that, like, I think that I would have enjoyed.
Yeah.
That I never really even, I mean, I remember having to be talked into doing that play, in junior high. And once I did it, I was like, dude, this was so much fun. Like, it's work and, like, but you get to kind of see the production factor, and then being up on stage was really, really cool.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that's the thing, is just, trying something different. Whether it's every year or every season, we put them through soccer and baseball and tennis and gymnastics.
How is tennis?
Tennis, he probably responded to some of the best.
Oh, really?
I think it was just because he was naturally a little bit better at that. So obviously he enjoyed a little bit more, but and now he's really getting into the scootering and rollerblading type of stuff to it. And I'm trying to get him into hockey. I think that kid was fantastic.
Dude, man, hockey.
But I haven't talked him into it yet. So,
well, I think that getting them trying to just try a little bit of everything, dip their toes into, like, a little bit of every activity and see what kind of clicks with them. I think for me, it was when I was little, my dad, the first thing my parents tried with me was baseball, and it just clicked instantly. So I think that was like, they're like, okay, this is it. This is his activity, and let's roll with it. So I think, like, exposing them to all these different things like gymnastics, baseball, basketball, hockey, rollerblading, what have you, I think that's the best way to find out what they're going to enjoy and what they're going to want to move forward with. I think that's important.
What point do you let it go to? Like, what point do you say, okay, you don't have to do this anymore, or kind of push it on them? Because that's the balance that that's
a good question.
Figure out. Yeah. Like, are you just giving up because it's a little hard? Am I being the guy that's like, no, I want you to play baseball, so you're going to play baseball?
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
That's a great question, man. It's tough because like you kind of want to see what they respond to, but at the same time, like you said, like if you don't like it, we're just gonna quit. We're gonna try it again. With Sam was he tried T-ball for the first time this year, and he wasn't like super into it, but he had fun. But I think with T-ball, it's so fucking boring. Like you
Amen. Thanks for saying that.
It is though, right? I mean, baseball's a tough sport. Like it's a lot of standing around, and it's
Patience.
not like it's patience, and it's not constantly running and moving. So I think it's something I'm not gonna say I'm gonna push it on him, but I'm gonna say let's try it again. Let's see how it goes. He told me the other day that he likes basketball a lot more than baseball, and I think that with basketball you're constantly moving, you're constantly running, you're doing something. With baseball, you stand still a lot. It's 90 degrees outside.
I think you have to remember too that like at the 4, 5, 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds maybe, I think whatever they're doing now is their favorite thing, right? Like, so I think we have to take that into consideration. But I think a lot of it, like to answer your question, Jag, is having conversations with your kids, right? Like, okay, like it's time to make a decision on whether or not we're going to play this sport or we're going to do this activity. And you said, is this something that you want to do? And the answer might be no. And you still might put them in it because that conversation is going to dictate what you think is going to be best, right? Like, and I'm not a proponent of like forcing your kids to do something that they absolutely hate, right? Like if the conversation is, I really don't like it. I don't like moving that way. I don't like, whatever. It's not that fun to me. Okay, fine. But if it's no, because, there was somebody that was mean last year. Okay, well, maybe that's something different. Maybe a new team, a new setting, a new year, a new season where you're a little bit older is going to change that. And if you genuinely like that activity, maybe it'll be better. So I just think it comes down to communication.
Absolutely.
And then making that tough decision.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think you really know what you like I don't think you can make that decision at 4 years old.
Right.
I mean, I think trying a lot of different things is a great idea. And I'm not going to say force them to move on with that, but at the same time, yeah, force them to continue with it. I'm never going to be the parent that says like, hey, do you like this in the middle of a season?
Right.
Let's just take you out of it then. No, you're going to finish this. You're going to finish it until we're done, and then you could be done with it after the season. Right. And I'm never going to pull my kid out halfway through and be like, you don't like it? All right, let's just stop. No, you're going to finish it. We started it, we're going to stop. Definitely. We're going to finish it when it's over.
Yeah. The hard part is like when they have like the meltdowns during, like we did soccer with Sloan this year, and the first practice she loved it. She was out there, she was playing, and the second practice I think she just got bored, and so like halfway through the practice she just like strolls on over and she's like, I want a snack. I was like, well, me too, but like we're in soccer practice. And she just wanted to like sit there. I'm like, no, Sloanie, you got to get out there, and your teammates are waiting on you. And like, she doesn't get that, right? Like I'm like going at it from like they're counting on you. You need to get out there, and she's like, yeah, no.
With your team.
But I think once I don't know if I did it right or not, but towards the end, I was like, listen, Sloan, you need to get out there. And I just kept saying, you cannot sit here with me. You need to go. And then she finished, and, this is going to sound terrible because I'm not a proponent of like participation trophies, but
you gave her a trophy.
She got this medal, right? And remember, she's 3, she's 3. So she got this medal for, playing soccer, and she wore that thing for like 2 weeks straight. She's like, well, I need to put my medal on. And I was like, okay. I'm like, do you want to play soccer more? And like, so I like kick the ball with her a little bit, and she would do it for like 5 minutes. But like, I don't think that it's something that she's going to stick with. If I had to make a decision right now, thankfully I don't. Next time it comes up, we'll ask her if she wants to do it. Great. If not, then we won't do it.
I also think though she's 3, right? So it's tough to figure out what they like at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Like Gibson took to baseball right away.
Right.
Not every kid's like that. I don't think you figure it out right away. I
agree.
Like for me, like baseball was like I was 4 or 5 years old, and I was instantly that was my thing, and that's all I wanted to do. I was super into it. But it's hard for every kid to be like that. Like I think it takes a little more time to get to that point in some sports or activities.
Yeah, I agree.
And they might end up loving it eventually, and that goes with anything: acting, gymnastics, what have you. I think it's just like that.
Well,
keep trying it, keep seeing what works.
That's kind of what I, because it's the same person, right? Like Sloan loves doing gymnastics. Like she goes and she does her thing, and she gets so excited when she does like the high beam and she, whatever. So I look at her when she does that versus soccer, and I was like, all right, did she really enjoy it? And again, she's 3, so maybe she'll want to take another run at it, and I'll let her do it. But like I know that she gets so excited to go do gymnastics.
Yeah.
She knows that on Tuesdays we go, and she's like, it's gymnastics day. I'm like, yep, sure is,
Yeah. So, I mean, maybe that's it, Who knows? Yeah. I don't know the answer. We're still new at this whole thing.
Yeah. That's a good point.
So, yeah, maybe tennis would be a good thing to try. I mean, I know Sam enjoyed golf a lot. What's that?
Oh, yeah, he does. I said Chelsea mentioned that she wanted to get him into tennis, get Gibson into tennis. And I was like, I don't know anything about tennis, so I can't really help. But, like, if that's what he wants to do, I'm down.
Yeah, again,
I'm going to try that.
Trying different, to see if there is a spark or an interest. And yeah, in anything, even if they don't like it, like you said, some of it's just a commitment, and I make this promise, and you do it through that. You go out and you help your teammates.
Yeah, give it 110%.
Yeah, sports, I don't think it's important to like any particular sport. The great part about sports is that it teaches you, it gives them something to do. It's like like almost a little bit of a job that, okay, you have to go out and
it's a responsibility.
Signed up for this season, you have to finish this season type of thing. But yeah, so far nothing has he hasn't wanted to do anything again a second time, and so it's just like,
and that's okay though, right? Like, I mean, he's 7, so eventually he's going to find something that he's really into, and to be fair, that could be things that like are not traditional from the way that we grew up, right? Like there's so many more things out there now. Like I was doing some research, and they have these coding clubs, and where like kids sit down on computers and stuff like that, and they're like writing freaking code, and I'm like, fucking nerds. But like those are also the people that like invent Facebook.
Hey, right? That's what they're too.
That might something I might force him to do.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, you're gonna go learn this.
You're gonna be an engineer.
Right.
Sure. I mean, look, like there's all these new skills that like weren't a thing when we were 5, 6, 7 years old.
We didn't think about it.
Like there was no option. There was no like, oh well, so and so's kid's doing this. Like no, it was you got your major sports and swim lessons, and that was about it. Boy Scouts, things like that. I mean, I never did that, but it was, there's.
Who am I kidding too? Like from my gene pool, it's not like you're going to be a professional in one of these schools. Like this is at best going to take you through high school.
Yeah, and then you're done.
Yeah, if you don't want to do it, why even waste the time?
Right. I think those are very healthy.
Because I couldn't. I was getting smashed by the time I was a freshman in high school. Just so. That's
But I mean, think of like doing the plays and like how you said that you're by nature you're more of an introvert, but like probably learning how to act and learn lines and project lines, I would say gives you a lot of confidence in the role that you play today, not only as a father, but like as a salesman, right? Like you have your pitch and you can deliver that pitch and you know how to feed off of the energy that somebody's bringing back at you. And I think that those are good skills to have.
Yeah, just talking with people, I think it's
Sure.
done a huge role into it. Yeah, so yeah, I don't care what it is. I'm just still waiting for that interest that isn't just
something that's gonna click.
easiest routes. Well, I really like eating popsicles. Like,
Yeah, we all do.
Same.
Not really a thing.
Yeah, it's like,
you know what though? I mean, like our parents said that like playing video games wasn't a thing, right? And like there's kids out there now making millions of dollars playing video games for a living. So I don't know, maybe competitive popsicle eating is a thing. I don't know.
That's why, when he gets super interested in the videos and the video games and stuff, I'm like, yeah, I mean,
we don't know what it's gonna be like in 20 years.
It might actually be a better thing.
Well,
I
almost
go kick a ball around outside.
Yeah.
Has no future,
right. I mean,
Yeah.
I've said this on the podcast before. It's like, look, this whole like screen time bad idea is kind of asinine. Like, look at kids today. They're doing virtual learning. They're doing school on an iPad, right? Like, if they don't have the skills to be able to manipulate that iPad and be able to function with it, if it's foreign to them, like they are going to struggle.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just irresponsible to think that you can completely shut them off from technology because
I think it's that whole social media thing. Like
it is.
You look at it and people are like, well, this is terrible. Don't give them this food. Don't let them watch these cartoons. Don't let them.
No sugar.
No YouTube, no technology. No, I think if that's what works and that's what they're interested in, and maybe it's a great thing, like you said, like the whole thing with learning, like these kids have to figure out how to use technology to go to school. I mean, and to be honest, a lot of schools are like, they hand the kids an iPod when they walk into school, and that's how learning goes now. I mean,
I don't think iPods are a thing anymore, bro.
iPad. I'm drunk.
I was just making it funny because I found an iPod actually in my crap the other day, and I was like, "Holy crap, this is awesome!"
Was it that first one from 2008?
Yeah,
it
was white and like that thick. Yeah,
yeah. Us trying to figure out how to upload music onto it and use it for a car ride was
4 hours late.
Dude, no, I gotta get this playlist.
It's downloading.
All right, let's get into proud dad moment.
You want to do proud dad moment? All right. So, Jag, my things are dying. All right. So, Jagger, one of the things that we do on the show is a proud dad moment. I know that you've listened a couple times, so you probably know what that is, but I'll do a quick explanation. So, much like just kind of talking on the podcast is kind of therapeutic, I think it's important for dads to think of something that they're super proud of, and it could be your kid that you're proud of, and it could also be yourself or your wife or your kid's mom or whatever. It could be anybody really, but I think understanding that something that you're proud of and then being able to then replicate those actions or the things that were leading up to those actions, I think it's super important. I think that's something that we kind of developed along the way in this show. I was like, oh shit, like this makes a lot of sense. Like I am proud of my kid for doing that, or I'm proud of myself for handling that situation. And then it just kind of forces you to remember that, so that way the next time you're in that situation, you can kind of do the same things or change things to be proud of a situation. So you got anything for us?
Well, I think the number one thing that still sticks out to this day is it was is a proud of Jackson moment. It was a Dads and Donuts day at school, and I remember going in and sitting down in that little chair, and it's always awkward when that other dad comes down and sits down and you're like, hey, who's your kid? And all that to it. But I remember, so me and Jackson were there first, and we were sitting at an empty table. And this other guy comes up, and him and his daughter are walking up to the table. And Jackson got up, walked around the table, went over, grabbed her chair, pulled it out. She sat down and pushed it in.
No way.
Wow.
And I looked at the other dad, and I'm like,
That's me. That's all me.
yeah, it's good job. It's what we do on a regular basis.
Chivalry isn't dead.
I didn't know that they were dating or anything, so don't look at me. I mean, I was blown away. Like,
that's amazing.
I think like there wasn't anything leading up to that moment. I don't remember doing that with Jen at all. Unfortunately, it probably should have been, but that was pretty cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's as far as me,
something to be proud of.
Yeah. I don't know. Again, I think you just get lost in it. I don't even really remember.
You do, and that's
exact. Like, I'm going to do this at this certain time. But I think the one time that like a teacher contacted me about something he did bad at school, I remember it was an email, and I remember just like reading this and being like, what? Like you made fun of a kid who didn't really know English, and like you and your friends were making fun of him at school. That was the email that came out. And I remember just like, you just like get that enraged, like at 4 or at 5.
Right.
I think he was 5 at the time. I'm like, already? You gotta be. And I just dialed it down, and I took it down, and I just said, all right, this is what your teacher told me. Explain to me the situation. And it ended up being a complete misunderstanding. And so just not being that parent that's like, that's not my kid, and yelling at the teacher over it.
Yeah.
Also not coming at Jackson like, that's it. They said this, you're not getting any TV time or dessert tonight, but actually talking it through. And
I'm glad you said that. I mean, I think that's probably, especially in today's world, our jobs is to, I mean, you can relate this to politics, you can relate this to whatever, is there's a story, there's the other side of the story, and the reality is that it's probably somewhere in the middle, right? And so it's our jobs to take the information in and then get everybody's point of view and say, okay, here's what we need to do. So whether it was a misunderstanding or not, like, I'm guessing like the important thing is that you had a conversation with your kid. And I mean, I don't know. I think from an early childhood standpoint, like, that's the best thing you can do is have a conversation with your kid and treat them as a person versus a subject, because I think that's easy to do sometimes. Mm-hmm. And then the other end, like you said, like, not just assume that the teacher is just an asshole and there's no way that my kid would ever do that. Like, so I think you should be proud of that, going through into the middle and doing the hard thing, because it's very easy to let your emotions take control one way or the other. But to go to the middle is more difficult. And if you do that, I think that's better for your kids.
Yeah,
absolutely. Or you can handle it the way I did when like our kids. So my son, when he comes home from school, like every day they get a stamp if they're good, right? So the one day I'm looking at Sam's calendar and it didn't have a stamp on it. I go, Sam, what happened on Thursday? You didn't have a stamp. And I kind of forced it out of him to tell me what went wrong. And he eventually said, I think I was being bad at nap time or something like that. And I like forced it out of him to tell me something that he did wrong. Well, what actually happened was, and I completely forgot, that he had a doctor's appointment and he didn't go to school that day. So that's why he didn't get a stamp. So I made him confess to doing something wrong, and he did nothing wrong. And I didn't know that. Like I told Liz, I'm like, he didn't get a stamp. I'm like, he apparently he didn't do what he was supposed to do at nap time. And Liz goes, he didn't go to school on Thursday. I'm like, oh shit. I made him confess to something that he didn't even do wrong.
Yeah. See, that's why waterboarding doesn't work, Ian.
Listen, I know. I know. No, that's amazing.
Handled it the wrong way, apparently.
Well, and you know what though,
you know what? Yeah, those mistakes, that's the fun in life, though. You know, you guys are sitting around at Thanksgiving 5 years from now, and you retell that story, and you know, without that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's funny. It was harmless. It was no big deal.
It's funny. He's never going to remember it. It's more of a lesson for you than it is for him. Like,
absolutely,
right?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Nobody gave it.
It's so amazing.
You know what? I don't know. I was being bad at nap time, I guess.
I'm
whatever.
Like,
give me your punishment and let me go.
Yeah, I fucked up, Dad. I did this. You didn't even do anything wrong. All right.
So, Jag, we got to get a dad hack out of you.
Yeah, dad hack. Do you have any dad hacks? You know what we mean by a dad hack?
I know what you mean, but I don't. I might have to let you down on this one.
No.
There's no letting down. Steve,
okay.
Why don't you
it could be anything, man. It could be something that you do, like misdirection or some type of, I don't even know, like a magic trick or something. I don't even know how to force this out of you.
Well, I mean, like, kind of build upon, like, I was actually thinking in the very beginning of our conversation that it was kind of a dad hack, was like the playing the game, the Among Us was like playing a game while you're doing something, like going shopping or something like that. There was something that would keep him occupied and you occupied, but you could still get something done. Like that would be kind of like a dad hack.
Yeah.
It absolutely is a dad hack. Yeah.
Well, there you go.
The easy way out.
No, I don't know. Again, I'm probably a bad person to talk to on the show because I have one kid. I have him half the week, and he is literally no issue at all. So I don't think I've ever had to come up with any hacks. Like the kid just like does stuff. Like you just tell him what to do, and he does it, and he's always in a good mood. And it is.
Amazing.
I mean,
that's phenomenal, man. Like, and I don't think that's like a letdown at all. I feel like there's probably something there that you just don't even realize that you've done as a dad hack.
Oh, I'm sure it's all because of me. I just
100%.
Such genius. I can't even explain it to a common person. You know, have the talent to it just happens. Like that's the hack.
I'm good with it.
Just be,
yeah.
And
well, unfortunately on Zoom you don't get our button, but I can say dad hack. That's about as good as you get because we don't have our fancy equipment in studio.
We don't have our board with us. It's Zoom.
No, but I think that, you know, that's okay, right? Like you're fortunate in that, you know, you haven't had to figure out any elaborate scheme to get your kids to do something, right? Like it's okay, right? Like I think that the game that you like to play with him and coming up with those games that you do in the house to pass the time and spend time with him, I think those are dad hacks in themselves. So, I mean, you definitely gave him some stuff to work with.
I think it's like it's the everything you do with him, and you don't even realize that what you're doing is a dad hack. It's just all natural. So I mean, there's no letdown there. I think you're doing, like, from what I could see via Facebook, is we don't get to see you in person. You know, we don't get to see you in Jackson. So the videos I see, like the rollerblading through the house video,
that was
love that, man. That was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like, and he was having the best time. Just watching him and his reaction to it was gold, man.
I think that's the
awesome.
cool thing, is seeing the joy on his face in those videos, and honestly seeing Jagger's reactions. Like,
yeah, true.
You know, it's a lot of fun to see.
Yeah. But by the way, that's one advantage of being a divorced parent. Like, you could turn your entire house into a roller rink or an Among Us gaming thing, and there's like no one there to say, like, do you really think this is a good idea? You realize there's like track marks all over the floor now too.
See, there's a dad hack right there, man.
We don't need that couch. That's just in the way of our roller rink.
Yeah.
So,
deal with it.
Some good sides, but
that's amazing.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Just it's a giant playroom over here. So
that's fantastic.
I love it.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much for taking some time out to talk with us. It was really good to catch up with you.
Absolutely, man.
We'll definitely stay on the line and do some off-air stuff too if you have some time. But why don't you give us a few minutes, plug your business and anything else that you want to plug before we sign off.
Okay. Ticknors. Located in, I don't know. I don't need to plug anything. We're good.
Oh, come on. Like, all right, I'll plug for you. So Ticknor's men's clothing, I don't know. I've been getting suits and stuff from you for years, and not as much as I'd like to since you took over the stores out in North Carolina. But you guys do a fantastic job, and I think it's good to go in there, especially from somebody that doesn't understand what I'm supposed to be wearing or how something is supposed to fit. I think you kind of alluded to it earlier. The experience of going in, meeting with somebody actually helps more than just clothing, right? Like yes, you sell clothing, but really what you're selling is education, maybe of like, okay, what is your ideal?
Yeah, try to make an experience too. Like, it's not a drudging thing that you have to go and I have to get this tie that matches my dress. So you normally rather just send your wife to do that. Like, okay, go pick me on a tie and everything there too. The other big thing I guess I will plug is that, sort of relating to the dad thing. I remember listening to your last one, and when I became a dad, I immediately moved to tighty whities or loose clothing or New Balances and stuff like we are shifting a lot of the clothing to the cat. I mean, we have like sweatpants, but they're nicer sweatpants now. Like, educating the guy that he can feel like he's in a New Balance and pajamas, but still look nice. So where it's not a suit, and that's where we've taken most of our clothing. So for anyone who thinks,
pivot.
I'm never going to wear a suit or a sport coat again, just next time your wife drags you to the mall, walk away from them for 5 minutes and go in. And it's a lot more casual than people think now. So
It is awesome. Now I've been limited to the former Menor store and then Beechwood. But you said you guys have 9 locations. So wherever you're at in the country that has a location, like, go in there, check them out, because they do a really good job of finding out who you are and like what your ideal look can be. And I know for me, going in there, I always feel like $1,000,000 when I get that suit back, right? Like after it's been tailored, and I'm like, oh shit! Like whether it's for a wedding or if it's just like, I got a couple sport coats from you, and I was like, well, I don't know why I need these, but I have to go to some meetings sometimes where I'm expected to dress up, and so I got to do this, and then I wear them. I'm like, huh, all right, I feel pretty damn good.
I know
You
everybody
look
said,
good because it
like,
fits
I'm
right.
not uncomfortable right now in this. But the biggest thing is we've taken that tailor shop mentality towards a suit or a sport coat and applied it to a pair of jeans and a t-shirt.
Yeah.
So it's amazing when people come in and they go, hey, I don't really dress up. And you throw them in like this comfy pullover, long sleeve shirt, you know, but then it just fits them perfect and they actually look good still. You know?
Yeah.
I think that's been the biggest change that's been
Well, that's really cool. I love that you guys are doing that because I'm probably going to get some sweats from you.
Yeah, I was gonna say I want some good looking sweats.
No, that's very cool. So, I mean, you're humble, but like seriously, Ticknor's, like, what's the website?
it's just ticknors.com.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I know that you're like online catalog. You guys have a lot of great pictures of you and your son. So,
Oh yeah. Yeah, my brother's daughter Lydia. Which, by the way, I've always wanted. When I found out Jen was pregnant, I was like, son, and he's been the greatest. But that little girl, I don't know how you feel, but yeah, I am just wrapped. I mean, that's something totally different and just been an awesome experience to.
It's definitely different. And I think, well, I mean, I don't have the experience of being a uncle.
Yeah.
But I would imagine that's pretty amazing. I know Steve's talked about how cool it is to be an uncle. So yeah, I mean that's really cool.
Yeah, not just the uncle, but the
Yeah.
I mean, having that girl in there.
I have 4 nieces.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I love them, man. They're everything. Like my goddaughter Mila is like she was the first child in our family. Like, you know, that was my niece, and like she's so amazing. And I love the idea of having a daughter. It seems like amazing. Like watching my brothers with their daughters and Ian with his daughter and all my friends with their daughters. It's so cool. Like it would be an awesome thing to have. And it's just like it's a special relationship, obviously. But Jagger, you and I, we have boys. So
hey, listen, daughters can be assholes too. My daughter, it was my night to put.
Oh, they're all assholes.
So tonight was my turn to put Sloan down to bed, and she was all good with it. Like I hung out with her, we had dinner together, like we did like kind of our not date night, but like Chelsea took Gibbs to basketball and I had Sloan. So she wanted Chick-fil-A, so we got Chick-fil-A. We came back to the house, we ate, and then she's like, I was like, what do you want to do? And she's like, I want to watch Frozen and snuggle. I was like, well, that sounds amazing. So we did that.
Jackpot.
As soon as my wife and son came home, she wanted nothing to do with me. Like I was getting ready to go take her up to bed, and she was like, I want mommy. I want mommy. I want mommy. I was like, all right, fuck me. What do you want from me?
Here's what I'll say. Here's what I think about with kids or with any teenager is teenagers are assholes, right? But the thing I always take in is what Liz's mom said about Liz when she was a teenager. She said, when Liz was a teen, I loved her, but I did not like her. She was a little bitch. And I don't look forward to the teenage years, but man, I hear the stories about girls in the teenage years, and I just can't even fathom
Mom's going to be a pistol.
what that would be like.
No.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
But anyway.
All right, man. Well, Jagger, again, thank you so much. This was a lot of fun. I'm glad that we finally did this. I think we talked about it like a year and a half ago, maybe.
A long time.
Quickly. And then, you know, I mean, things just kind of got whatever, and we do our own things, but I'm glad we caught up, and we're going to have to do it again.
For sure.
Yeah, it's a good time. Look forward to it.
Sounds good.
Absolutely. Thanks, man.
So if you haven't already, make sure you follow us on Facebook, Instagram, the YouTube, Twitter, all that good stuff on all the socials. Download us on all the podcast apps that you use. Website www.thetalkingdads.com. I think it's right there.
Over there. There it is.
Not used
Got
to
it.
a green screen thing. But yeah, do that. We post our whiskey blogs and things like that. So that's fun. Do all that. Go to ticknors.com and check out their stuff. And if you have one in your city, you need to go there and check them out.
Yes,
and then in
sir.
the meantime, raise
good humans.
Wow, we are not good on Zoom.
Dude, Zoom sucks. All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. See you.
Peace.
Hey guys, if you love what you just heard or watched, and we know you did, do us a solid and hit that thumbs up. Share with your friends and throw us a comment, literally about anything. Your support legit keeps us going. Oh, and don't forget to give us that 5-star rating. We really appreciate you.